So you've done all your sums, how much you can borrow from the bank, you know the monthly installments, total cash and CPF required, the upgrading process and timeline, but something is still holding you back. There are still some doubts which nobody can seem to answer. In fact, someone recently reached out to me and told me that she's in the above situation, feeling unsure whether she should upgrade or not. Then I told her about point number 3 in this video, and she said that it did help her out a lot. So be sure to stay until the end to check it out. Maybe it could be the answer that you're looking for too. Most HDB or condo upgraders are afraid of moving too early. They worry about interest rates, job security, and whether the timing is right. But after speaking to so many homeowners over the years, I've noticed something quite interesting. The people who upgrade smoothly don't usually have the perfect timing. They simply reach a point where the decision starts to feel clear. And that clarity usually shows up through a few quiet signs. It's not excitement, it's not hype, it's a growing feeling that the move makes sense for their situation. So here are the 3 signs that you are ready to upgrade. The first sign is when you actually have a game plan. You're not upgrading just because prices are rising, and you're not doing it because your friends are doing it. You know why you're making this move. For some people, it's about protecting their savings from inflation. For others, it's about giving their family a bigger and more comfortable space to grow and create precious memories in. Maybe the location just isn't convenient anymore because of school, work, or other arrangements. You're thinking, in 5 to 10 years, this property may have grown in value, and maybe I'll have the option to upgrade again. Or maybe even you're thinking in much longer term. In 20 years, most of this loan will be paid off, and this becomes a solid asset for retirement. When you start thinking this way, the upgrade stops being a reaction and becomes a natural step towards a long-term plan. The second sign is when you've answered all the important financial questions, not just what the bank approves, but actually what you're comfortable with. So for example, if you sell and buy a bigger place, what will your monthly installment be? But more importantly, how does that number make you feel? It's normal to feel some discomfort. After all, the most comfortable thing in life is to do nothing, right? If you don't upgrade, of course you'll feel very comfortable because nothing changes. There are no extra commitments, no need to cut back. So some level of discomfort is natural because I realize that everything we want is almost outside our comfort zone. But there's a difference between discomfort and stress. And a good reality check is your employment situation. How confident are you that you can continue earning at this level? And even if you were to lose your job, would you be able to find something similar pretty soon? So for example, if you were retrenched before and it took you 2 years to find a similar paying job, then that's something you need to factor in. But also don't become overly paranoid. You don't have to assume that the minute you put down your deposit, you're going to lose your job. Another simple test is, after paying the installment using your cash and CPF, will you still be able to lead a normal life? Like, can you still take a once-a-year holiday, enjoy some simple comforts, like buying a collector's item when you feel like it, or go for an impromptu road trip in New Zealand with your childhood friends, and not constantly feel pressured about money? Or do you feel that every dollar has to be watched or stretched? So another thing to ask yourself is, are you or your spouse planning to slow down in a few years' time? Maybe you want to work part-time or even pursue a new career. Because if that's the case, then committing to a bigger property now may not be a good idea. And one more important question is, if you were to lose your job, do you have enough reserves to tide you through this period? Sometimes the numbers technically pass the bank's approval, but in your own mind, you know that it feels tight. And you're thinking, okay, as long as the interest rates don't rise, as long as our income stays the same, as long as nothing unexpected happens. So this kind of thinking usually means that there isn't enough buffer. A comfortable upgrade should feel boring, not stressful. The third sign is you stop guessing what the property market is doing. You are not too concerned, not because you don't care, but because you start understanding the main forces that move property prices. In Singapore, property prices don't move randomly. It is very well calibrated by government policies like cooling measures to make sure that it doesn't move up too quickly, and nor will it crash. I don't want to bore you, but from this chart, you can see all the cooling measures that the authorities have put in throughout the years to stabilize the property market. So in fact, the property market doesn't move like how we think it should move. We see headline news of some sectors doing really poorly. Like for example, every other day, we see some very established restaurants, eateries closing down. But on the other hand, property prices don't show any signs of weakening very much. They're influenced by a few major drivers like government policies, the economy, and major transformation projects across Singapore. But I think the most important driver that drives up property prices is population. So for example, you may have heard that Singapore's population is targeted to reach 6.9 million in 2030. That's in just a few years' time. But few people realize that even at our current population of 6 million people, there's already a shortage of properties to house everyone. Okay, I just want to show you a very simple calculation. Our population has just crossed 6 million. The average household size is 3.09 people. The total number of dwellings in Singapore is 1.6 million, and that is taking into account HDBs, condos, landed, etc. And just by doing very simple maths, 6 million divided by 3.09 people means we need 1.94 million homes. So we are still short of 340,000 homes. And with the government being cautious in releasing the supply of land, you can see why demand keeps going up. Because of just this one factor, the increase in population. So once you understand this big picture, you will stop relying on piecemeal information that comes from everyone else. And you're no longer just listening to friends, relatives, headlines, coffee shop opinions. Instead of borrowed conviction, you have your own understanding of the big picture. You have formed your own opinion by looking at the market from a helicopter view. So even when the headlines scream property prices eased by 3% this year, or GDP contracts in the last quarter, you don't feel stressed because you understand what's happening underneath. So here are the 3 signs again. You're probably ready to upgrade when you have a long-term reason and a clear plan. You have enough reserves and the numbers feel safe. You understand how the big picture works. So when these 3 come together, the decision usually starts to feel much calmer. So upgrading isn't about catching the perfect moment. It's about reaching a point where the decision feels clear, comfortable, and sustainable. And when you reach that point, the move feels much less stressful than you expect. So if you're not sure whether you're at that stage yet, we can have a chat about it. My contact information is in the description below. So see you again and talk soon.